Hey Internet, this is Chris McKee with Alamo Music Center in San Antonio, Texas. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. You have been enjoying our list of guitars, our top 10s if you will, within certain price ranges. So we're going to take it up another notch for you, looking at our favorite guitars, or my favorite guitars because I made the list, that we have in stock that range of price between $3,000 to $4,000. This is in kind of an upper range for acoustic guitars. These are rather expensive guitars, but if you have the means, they are fantastic guitars that will reward you in spades for playing them. Spades, you know what I mean. So $3,000 to $4,000, we're going to be looking at a range of guitars from about 3 builders here that we have in stock on a regular basis. And the reason we do so is because we think they're fantastic guitars. So without any further ado, let's get going with number 1. So number 1 is right here in my lap. It is a Martin HD28. The HD28 goes for about $3,030, like $3,029, something like that. You want to check all of these prices on our website, alamomusic.com, because they are subject to change by the manufacturers, and we have no control over that whatsoever. But it's a fantastic guitar, and the HD28 is one of my favorite guitars in Martin's lineup. For a few reasons. I love the aesthetic of it, particularly with the Reimagine series that they did for 2018, which is something I've been wanting them to do for a while. It started years ago with the D18 and has finally worked its way through the lineup. That Reimagine series, which we'll see on a few other guitars on this list, basically gives you vintage aesthetics with, and sound with modern playability. With the HD28, what it does is it gives you what the original recipe for the D28 was. So if you know your history about Martin guitars, this was the D28. And at some point along the way, the herringbone binding was dropped and the bracing was changed from scalloped bracing to straight bracing, and that changed the tonality of the guitar. When they decided to bring those things back, they wanted to keep the D28 in the lineup and created the HD28 to bring that original recipe to the front with a new model designation. And I like the sound of it. So you have a dreadnought body with a solid Sitka spruce top and solid East Indian rosewood back and sides. Off-white binding now with black binding on the neck, and it features a 1 3/4 inch nut with the low oval profile high performance taper. It's a very easy playing neck, great action, nice width without being too wide, too narrow. It's just kind of the Goldilocks neck in my opinion. The bracing on this is forward shifted scallop bracing. Now what that means is that the top is going to move more than it does on the D28. That gives you more resonance, it gives you more volume, and gives you more low end. Comparatively, this has a wider sound. The D28 has a more narrowly focused sound. You're going to get a lot more resonance and low-end bass kind of thump from this guitar than you are the normal D28. The herringbone binding is also beautiful, along with this vintage tone top. It just screams Martin. I also like the vintage logo they're using and these open back tuners that are standard on these guitars. You know, the inlay is also a nice touch. They've gone away from the dot inlay that was previously used to these diamond snowflake style inlays, an abalone. It's a small change, but it's, you know, the devil's in the details, they say, and that's true here. So I really like this guitar. It's one of my favorite guitars in any price range, but definitely when we're looking at this range between $3,000 and $4,000. Number 2 on our list is actually the younger brother of the guitar we just looked at, or the smaller brother maybe, and that is the Martin Triple O28. Yeah, historically it's actually probably older than the HD28 because smaller bodies were in Martin's lineup before they invented the dreadnought. There's a number of things that I like about this guitar. First of all, it's got a shorter scale length than the HD28 does at 24 3/4 inch. It still has scalloped bracing, and it's gotten the treatment of the Reimagine guitars like the others, with the vintage tone top and the off-white binding and the revised inlays, keeping back with the historical context of what this guitar used to be, bringing it back into a modern era with modern playability, open back tuners, and so forth. The herringbone binding, which has been there, is just beautiful, and it's just a wonderful guitar. One of the things that I like about small-bodied guitars is when you are picking it lightly, it's actually louder than a big-bodied guitar. And a lot of people don't realize that, but that's because it takes less energy to move the top. So with a light touch, the top vibrates into action sooner and with more amplification than a large-bodied dreadnought guitar does. So you can play this lightly, and it's louder than a dreadnought played the same way. Now, a dreadnought has more potential volume because of the bigger body shape. More real estate on the top means that if you really dig into it, it will be louder than a small body like this Triple O. But if you don't play like that, like I typically don't, if you want to sit there and just pick, this is going to be a louder guitar. It's going to be a more resonant guitar, a very responsive guitar. And so that's why I tend to prefer small body guitars unless I'm really going at it with a dreadnought guitar. Don't read too much into that. So I love the Triple O28, and you know, there's been a lot of guitars modeled on this, like the Eric Clapton model and so forth. With the changes that they've done with the Reimagine series, this is the one I would take home. So take a listen. Number 3 on the list is probably a divisive, controversial one, but I included a model of the T5Z on one of our previous videos, and it's my prerogative to include it on this one because it's my list. But I think this is one of the most beautiful and versatile guitars on the market, particularly in this price range. This is the T5Z Custom with a Koa top. Now, if you're not familiar with the T5Z, it's very, very versatile. It is a hybrid guitar, which allows it to be on this list of acoustic guitars because it does both acoustic and electric sounds, which means if we do an electric list at this price range, it will probably be in there as well. Now, the way that it does this is also unique because you're probably saying there are other guitars on the market that do that have piezo systems in their bridges and allow you to have an acoustic sound. And yes, there are, and those are fantastic guitars. And they do give you a very cool piezo option on an electric guitar. But I will say to you that I don't think any of those actually sound like an acoustic guitar for the most part. They sound like electric guitars with piezo pickups on them. And I like the blend options. I'm not bashing those guitars. I think they're great. I own one. But it doesn't sound convincingly like acoustic. If you just play the piezo by itself, it doesn't. It sounds like a piezo is what it sounds like. So what's different about this is a few things. One, it is actually a completely hollow guitar. So it is an acoustic guitar. You can sit on the couch, you can play unplugged, and it's got, you know, a fair amount of volume for being so thin. The top on this is Koa, Hawaiian Koa. It's fully suspended. And the way that it works is that there's 3 pickups on here, one of which you can see. There's a stacked humbucker hidden under the fingerboard here. There is a stacked humbucker right here. Looks like a little lipstick pickup at the bridge. And then there's a body sensor that's right here that works kind of like a microphone diaphragm, picking up the vibrations of the top. The acoustic setting is the first position here on the 5-way switch, which is where the T5 name comes from. And it's a combination of this pickup element, this body sensor, and the pickup underneath the neck, which is the warmest of the 2 humbuckers here. Picking up that nice warmth of the strings and the vibration of the top. What that means is that on the different models of this, whether it's the maple top or the koa top or the spruce top or the mahogany top, in the acoustic setting, you can definitely hear a difference between the tops because that body sensor is picking up the top vibration. The other thing this has going for it is the fact that it is an acoustic bridge that's on it. And that changes the feel, it changes the string's response. It all kind of plays into the fact that this isn't an electric guitar with an acoustic element slapped on it, and it isn't an acoustic guitar with electric pickups wedged in it. It is its own thing, and it does what it does very, very well. So since this is an acoustic video, we're going to demonstrate it for you plugged in direct on that first position for the acoustic tone. Take a listen. Number 4 on our list comes from Martin, and this is kind of acoustic electric again, but not like the T5 we looked at. This is the Martin OMC28E, is part of the Reimagine series for 2018, and like the Triple O28 we looked at just a moment ago, it has a lot of the same appointments because it is a very similar guitar. The body shapes are basically the exact same. It's got the tinted top, spruce, rosewood, the same binding, the same neck carve. Where it differs is in the scale length and the bracing. So this has slightly thinner scalp bracing than the Triple O28 does. It has a slightly longer scale length than the Triple O28 does, to 25.5 inches as opposed to 24 3/4. And in this particular guitar, it has a cutaway and it has a pickup option from Fishman, the Aura system, Aura VT in this particular case. And so what I like about it is it gives you all of the benefits of that Reimagine series, but in a plug-in, stage-ready guitar. So it's a great pickup system. You can option this either with the Fishman, which is great, or the Ellerbag's Anthem, which I also really like and have in some of my personal guitars. So depending upon which one you prefer, you can choose that on this guitar, and then you have it ready to go. You can plug it in right there, easy access to the battery compartment as well. So you get the benefit of having a beautiful vintage styled Martin with great playability and a fantastic pickup system so that you can plug it in and play and have access to the upper registers of the fretboard. And so I love it. I love that Martin's blending both the need for modern playability, modern electronics access up here for those of us who take advantage of it, with the tried and true blueprint that has been established for decades with the OM28. So for all those reasons, you can't really go wrong with this, and it's not that much over $3,000, about $3,159 last I checked. So really a great guitar, beautiful looks, beautiful sound, and all of the things that you need at your fingertips. Take a listen. Number 5 on our list comes from Taylor Guitars, and it is part of the 500 series. This is the 526 CE. Now, new for 2018, they started giving the cutaway models in the Grand Symphony body shape this sharp Florentine cutaway, and I like it. It's very nice. Takes a little bit more time, but it's a fantastic option, and it helps to differentiate this body shape from the Grand Auditoriums, which are smaller and have the Venetian cutaway. But you know, side by side, when you don't know what you're looking at, a lot of times until you put them right next to each other, they're kind of easy to get confused. But the Grand Symphony is a bigger, wider lower bout guitar. It gives you a lot of volume. It's the big, bold strummer, Taylor likes to call it, and it is ideally suited for that. In this version, you get a solid mahogany top, back, and sides, and a beautiful edge burst finish. The dark look of it basically lends to the sound that you're going to get. It's this earthy, compressed, rounded, mid-range, rich sound with a lot of volume, a lot of oomph. If you're a strummer, if you like to really dig in, you like to palm mute while you're playing, this is a fantastic guitar. So take a listen, you'll see what I mean. So it turns out that you can have your cake and eat it too. This is the Guild D55. It sells for about $3,500, and it is a phenomenal guitar. If you have watched our full review of this guitar, I likened it to chocolate cake, and I still think that's a very good description of this guitar. It is rich and full and keeps you coming back for more and more. Aesthetically, the guitar is just beautiful. It's this not understated elegance, but it's not over the top with inlay. It's got these split block inlays, mother of pearl and abalone, framed in by these railroad stripe, this railroad stripe binding that has these two parallel lines running. And it's a little detail, but it just sets it off. And you can tell that there's just time and attention that went into this. The guitar is a big-bodied guitar. It's a dreadnought shape from Guild. This is a famous model Guild's been making for years, and it features this wonderful Sitka spruce top, beautiful top that's on here, and beautiful East Indian rosewood back and sides. They've really selected some nice pieces for this. The bracing is scalloped red spruce bracing, and it's one of those things, I remember the first time looking into it, if you ever have a chance to sit down with one of these guitars or own one yourself, if you look in, you look at the sound hole, on every acoustic guitar with a center sound hole, there are these braces that kind of come around to frame it. And usually, those are just like little popsicle braces, or sometimes they're tall, pretty thick bracing. But the idea is there's maybe not much going on here, so why worry about it? But Guild has taken the time to put these delicate scalloped braces even there around the sound hole. And so the whole guitar is just rich and responsive, and every note has this wonderful roundness to it while you still have that dynamic range that you expect from a spruce and rosewood guitar with those low lows and those high highs. Just a real pleasure to play and listen to. So take a listen. So number 7 on our list is, again, from Martin. It is another dreadnought. It is the HD35. Now, the 35 is a more modern guitar than the 28. It is a 3-piece back design that was initially invented to utilize some wood and then made with some appointments to make it a little bit more upscale, specifically the bound neck and the tuners and whatnot. So in reimagining it, they kept some of those traits of it being a more modern guitar. So instead of open back tuners, this has closed back Grovers because that's what it originally had. It still retains that bound neck that really separates it. So if you're in a store, you see 2 Martin dreadnoughts next to each other that are both herringbone bound. You can identify the HD35 with the Reimagine line now because it will have the off-white binding on the neck and it will have dot inlay as opposed to the slotted diamond inlays. It still has the vintage tone top, rosewood and spruce construction. So why else would we have this on the list if we already looked at the HD28? Well, the construction is different, and I'm not talking about the 3-piece back. The bracing on this is different. It's forward-shifted scallop bracing that is 1/4 inch versus 5/16 in size. We've covered that on another video when comparing the Triple O28 to the OM. That difference in brace size changes, again, how the top's going to resonate. So in this case, it's a thinner brace that's scalloped. And let's make it easy. This is braced with the same bracing that an OM would have, but in a much bigger body. And what that means is that it's got a really rich, really thick, really loud and big, almost woofy bass response out of it because you've got this big old piece of spruce that's braced very lightly, and so it's going to respond with a lot of movement. Now, some players don't like this in an HD35 because it can be too much, but depending upon your playing style, it may be just what the doctor ordered. And sometimes, if I happen to have the privilege of being surrounded by these guitars, it's the guitar I'm going to reach for. And if I could own them all, would be one of the ones that I would take home with me. So take a listen to that richness in the HD35. Now we're moving up to an even bigger sized guitar, and that is the Taylor 618E. Now we could rightly put the entire 600 series in this video, but I'm limited to 10 guitars. So I love the 612. I adore the 614. In fact, that guitar's so good that it should be considered a controlled substance. The 618 I want to feature for you guys because I believe this is like the grand piano of acoustic guitars today. It is the biggest body shape in Taylor's catalog. Kind of a jumbo size, but a little different, and that's why they're not calling it a jumbo. This is the Grand Orchestra body shape. Now, in the 600 series, it features torrefied Sitka spruce with beautiful flamed maple back and sides. It's all bound in dark ebony with the typical ebony fingerboard and bridge that Taylor uses. And it has some nice appointments to it, like an ebony headstock with a back strap with that inlay on there, just for you, the player, to see. Ebony pick guard on here, ebony and abalone rosette. It is a stunner of a guitar, just looks stunning. The top does not have any toner applied to it. It's got this kind of darker hue because it's roasted or torrefied Sitka spruce, which makes it more resonant. It's kind of already played in and aged as soon as you take the guitar out of the case, which is going to make it more responsive. Inside, the bracing has a very specific bracing that Andy Powers designed for this body shape and is put onto the guitar using protein or hide glues, which help to transfer those vibration characteristics through the guitar better. So you've got some of those premium appointments along with the thinner finish. So thin finish, hide glue, the specific bracing for this, specific wood thicknesses for this body shape, all of that. So those are the specifications. When we put it all in a soup and cook it up, what does it make? It makes this guitar that is a big bodied guitar that is also a responsive guitar. And if you haven't spent much time playing a big jumbo guitar, you don't understand how big of a deal that is. Usually, if you have a big jumbo guitar, you're just kind of hammering away at it, okay? And that can be great if you are strumming and you want that volume, okay? But you have to really dig into it. If you want a big body guitar that can project and have all of that depth and bass and richness, but you maybe play like I do, this is the guitar that's made for you. It's a big body on the top. It's also a full 5 inches deep. And so that combination of size here and depth, along with the delicate bracing that's been put into this guitar, really allows it to shine with fingerstyle guitars, light to medium strumming, as well as with a heavy strumming or pick hand. So, like I said, it is dynamic. It is like a grand piano, but in an acoustic guitar. Take a listen and you'll see what I mean. All right, number 9, that shield logo at the top should tell you that what I'm holding is another Guild. This is an F55, which is actually a new model in Guild's lineup. It's similar to other big jumbos that Guild has had in the past, but this is directly a stablemate to the D55 that we looked at, but done in a jumbo body guitar. Now, I just talked about jumbos kind of being one of those guitars that you really have to dig into, and this guitar does ask you to do that. Now, it is very responsive for a jumbo guitar, but it will pay you back in spades with a nice kind of steady pick, strum, heavier picking, what have you, flat picking. It sounds a lot like the D55 does, but by tightening that waist, it focuses the mid-range quite a bit and the projection of the guitar. And so it cuts through a bit more than the D55 does. In fact, I would say that their tonal aspects look a lot like the body shapes do. The squarer D55 kind of has that kind of shape to it in how the sound comes at you. It's kind of this square sound, whereas this has a more focused sound to you, just like the more focused, tighter waist does. So, and like the D55, just beautiful appointments, really a fantastic guitar. Same red spruce or Adirondack spruce bracing. It's just great. Take a listen, you'll see what I mean. It's really good. Listen. Last on our list is a Taylor 814 CE Deluxe. Now, the 814 on its own could be on this list, but if I'm choosing between the two to feature in our list of 10, this is the one that I'm going to choose. It's at the top of our price range, right at $4,000 currently. But it features enough changes from the 814 to justify that price increase, and I think if I had the choice, if I could spend up to that, this is what I'd choose, and so that's why I've decided to include it. The 814 CE Deluxe takes the recipe of the 814 CE and adds a few additional options that add to the aesthetic appeal and playability, and as well as the just beauty and intonation of the guitar. So let's talk about it. The first thing, the 814. The 814 is an 800 series Grand Auditorium from Taylor that features a solid Sitka spruce top with solid East Indian rosewood back and sides. It is bound in pale maple with a rosewood pickguard, ebony fingerboard and bridge, beautiful rosewood and abalone rosette. This reflections inlay that's on the fingerboard and the headstock, and a beautiful streaky ebony fingerboard. Let's talk about that a little bit because it's something that you see on the 800 series models more than anything else. The 800 series has been the flagship of Taylor's line for years, pretty much since their inception. And a few years ago when it was redesigned by Andy Powers, the inlay was redone, but it really kind of echoed inlays from the past that were featured on this series. And it's so responsive, it's already playing. And the fingerboards featured this kind of streaky, stripy, some people call it molten ebony. And that's partly to feature the work that that Taylor is doing in Africa, specifically in Cameroon with their ebony mill that they're in partnership with. Getting the market to understand that we are losing trees, we are losing the ability to utilize some of these exotic tone woods if we cannot be good stewards of the forest and understand what they are and use them for what they are. So ebony has typically been black, and as music guitar snobs, we've only wanted black. And so guitars that had streaking, had these lighter striations in them, were being left on the forest floor to rot because they weren't worth as much. So Bob Taylor and his group with Crelicam, the ebony mill, went in there and said, no, they're all going to be worth the same, and we're going to help the market to understand that this is still ebony, still plays great, and it looks beautiful. You know, it's funny that as guitar players, I'm going to go on a rant, we would look at varied grain in maple or rosewood or whatnot and say that's beautiful, but then expect ebony to just be black. And that's how we want it. I love it. I'm glad they feature it on this guitar. Off my soapbox now. The other things that you have are the V bracing, which is new for 2018. If you've been under a rock somewhere, welcome. V bracing is these two parallel braces that run into a V instead of an X brace and give the guitar increased sustain and volume, as well as improving intonation because the guitar responds more uniformly, and so the notes that you play and the overtones are in tune. And when you sit down and start playing one and comparing it, you really understand what's going on there. It's cool. The deluxe model adds this radiused armrest with rosewood inlaid. So what they've done is they've basically rounded off this edge where your right arm sits, or left arm if you're a lefty. And so it's very, very comfortable there. And then up here at the top, we have chrome toes, satin chrome Goto 510 tuners, which are the best tuners on the market, in my not so humble opinion. Along with the ES2 pickup system, it is one of the most beautiful, great playing, sounding, and stage ready, comfortable acoustic guitars. Any more superlatives I can add to it? It's definitely worth $4,000 in my book. Take a listen. So there you go. In 10 guitars, we featured some small body plug-in ready guitars like this Taylor Martin, as well as many other guitars. Depending upon your style, there's something in here to suit your needs. And these are the guitars that, in my opinion, I think are some of the very best on the market in this price range. Is this a completely exhaustive list? Absolutely not. I can't have every single thing, I mean, as much as I'd want to. I'd love to show you a whole bunch of stuff, but we're keeping it to 10. We're keeping it to stuff that, that I have access to, and I can get my greedy little paws on and show you that I think are great guitars. And there's 10 phenomenal guitars here. What else do you want? YouTube, internet? Come on, work with me here. But in all seriousness, these are great. If you want any more information about the specs of these, go to our website, alamomusic.com, where you can check out all of the information on these guitars, purchase them, get them in your hot little hands to play, what have you. I want to thank you so much for watching these videos. We put them out there to make you a more informed buyer, help you understand the differences and see what's going on, what's new, what's different. So I want to make sure that you know that little button over there, if you haven't clicked it, hit subscribe and turn on those notifications so that you know when we've done a new video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
What's up, you guys? We're here at Alamo Music Center in San Antonio, Texas, and we're very excited to announce the 30th annual Guitar Wars. The theme this year is Shred the Halls, and it's taking place at Sam's Burger Joint right here in San Antonio on December 11th at 7 p.m. To enter, we want you to post a 30-second to 1-minute video of you playing and post it on Instagram and tag us at Alamo Music. We want you to use the hashtags Shred the Halls, Alamo Music, Play a Note, and Guitar Wars 30. There are 3 categories. We got electric guitar, acoustic guitar, and bass. 3 winners from each category will receive an awesome prize, and the top player from each one has a chance to be featured on our YouTube channel. We want everybody to enter. There are no limitations on genres, but your submissions are due by December 1st. There are always some great players there, but we're looking forward to seeing some new faces. Show us what you got. Is that okay? Is that good?
Hey everyone, I want to thank you for watching the videos that we produce. We put these out to help you choose the right guitar, understand some of the options that are out there, and to showcase some of the latest models that you may not get the opportunity to play in your local music store. If you have benefited or enjoyed watching any of our videos, then I want to tell you how you can help us to make more. We have created a new t-shirt just for guitar nuts like you and me. It's this. It says, I'm a guitar nut. So if you're like me, you are a guitar nut. And if you're also like me, walking around naked is probably an offense. So we want you to have this shirt. Follow the link, go to our website. These are going to be limited time, and you can put in a pre-order for it now. They will be shipping soon. Once they're gone, they're gone. So follow the link below and get your guitar nut shirt that only you and other guitar players will understand with a knowing wink. Thanks again for watching.